Hello, my name is Moses Thiga from the School of Science, Engineering and Technology at Kabarak University, Kenya. And thank you for joining this presentation on my paper entitled Increasing Participant Participation and Security in Student Election Through Online Voting, the case of Kabarak University, Kenya. Now, the background of the study is Kabarak University started electronic voting in the year 2018, and this the use of the electronic voting was able to make the use of the elections very efficient and cost effective. However, that system still experienced two main challenges. And the first was there was low voter participation due to the offline nature of the voting system at that point. And then there were cases of fraud due to the human intervention in the voter verification exercise and also in the issuance of login tokens for the voting. So the objective of this study, therefore, was to upgrade the offline electronic voting system into a secure online voting system for use in the student elections at Kabarak University. The study adopted a case study approach. The case study is an empirical research method where you investigate a phenomenon and focus on the dynamics of a specific situation or context. So case studies can be exploratory, descriptive, or explanatory. In this case, our study was exploratory. We wanted to establish what would be a suitable approach to encourage more voters to participate in the election using online voting. So there is need for this because there's a growing need for online elections and voting, and many universities and institutions are adopting this approach. However, when you notice that despite the convenience, a lot of voters still do not participate, we wanted to explore why, first of all, and then secondly, wanted to establish what then can be done to encourage their participation. So we studied the unique case of Kabarak University, given that this is an environment where the online voting is already happening, and we already have some experience in the sense that the system has been used, and we can look back for lessons, and we can also use the same environment to test new ideas. So the system was developed using the dynamic systems development method, which is an improvement on the rapid application development approach. And this particular approach is a four-stage system development approach, where you begin by doing feature analysis and model development. Then you crystallize this feedback during the requirements of feature prioritization, identify what exactly you do. Then we have an iterative phase where you build, test, and release your product. And then finally, when it's okay, you deliver. So how we executed this in the case of our study, or my study rather, is the step one was feature analysis, where we were able to verify or identify what exactly do the voters want out of their online voting system. And so we established that they want to be able to verify that the right person is voting, and also to enable them to cast their votes online. Then we did feature prioritizing, and here we use the Moscow approach, which is the approach recommended in the DSDM methodology that we used for the study. However, we did not use the fourth category, the should have category. So we use the three, the must have, could have, and would have this time around. So the must have elements were the voter login, verification, and vote casting. The could have is an adaptable web interface for desktop and mobile access. And then we were also clear that we probably wouldn't have a mobile application during this particular iteration of the study. So the mobile application fell in the won't have this time round category. We proceeded to do the design, and we developed three key processes: the voter registration, the voter verification, and also the voting process. We then built the system using with a system development team, and we used the system from the previous election as the baseline or as the basis for our new system, and we built our additional features on top of that. Then we tested the system in two stages, our alpha and our beta testing. So in the alpha testing, we had a focus group of the students who came and tested the voting process, essentially the functionality and usability of the system. Then we had a security testing to test whether the system was secure enough for use in the elections, and we tested for a variety of vulnerabilities and types of attacks. Then we did a beta testing, and we utilized the system in a student association election, a small association, to establish whether it would work. Yes, it worked, and we also learned lessons in readiness for deploying in the next main election. Then, in terms of delivery, the system was actually used for the election in the November 2019 election. So that concludes the methodology for this particular study. That is how we went through. So we are reporting, or I'm reporting rather, the outcome now of this entire process. So the major output of this entire process was the system. The system is able to capture the voter details, which now we get from student registration from the enterprise resource planning system. We're able to allow users to access the system and request for a password. Then the password is sent to their mobile phone. They log in and they cast a vote. And then, of course, we're able to release the results at the end of the voting period. So the benefits that accrued from this particular system when we used it in the November election was, number one, there was increased voter turnout. This time we had 36.6% turnout, up from around 27% in the previous election. This was 2,733 voters out of a possible 7,162 voters. We were able to reduce the election costs by 27%. We needed less staff, and as a result, less allowances, less meals, and less on logistics. We also managed to increase the efficiency of the election. And this time, we were able to open the election earlier at 6 in the morning because it was online rather. And we were able to close at 4 and release the results and conclude by 5:30 in the evening. Of course, just a background is the previous elections concluded at 6 and counted until 6 the next morning. So being able to conclude by 6 o'clock of the election day is a major gain for the process. Of course, we encountered a few challenges. And the first challenge was we had challenges with the voter details. Our voters did not turn up to verify their details during the period allowed. So we had a lot of work on election day to clean our voters register, missing phone numbers, missing email, and etc. The second challenge we encountered is that we were using an email account, a Gmail account, to send out passwords, and this quickly reached its limit of around 2,500 messages for the day. So we had to quickly, on the ground, change the approach of sending our passwords to use SMS. Now, when we use the SMS, gave us a third challenge. The slight latency in terms of the delay in receiving the message for the voters caused them to request multiple times for that password. So that increased the costs on the side of the SMS. And then when the day was over and we released the results, we got a lot of concerns from voters and also from the candidates, fearing that they could have been tampering with the election results. Of course, we were confident that did not happen. However, in an election, perceptions are reality. And when people think that the vote has been tampered with, that is their reality. And it could even lead to the cancellation of an election. So we took this very seriously, that while we were confident of the technical capability of the system to resist any form of tampering, the voters did not have the same confidence we had as an election team. So that was a major issue. So as a result of that area, we have identified a number of areas of further study. Number one is we need to develop a secure means for voter self-registration. So in other words, we want to avoid registering voters ourselves as a commission so that the voters can actually self-register. And that needs to be a secure approach so that we don't have people registering and they're non-existent. They're not even students, maybe they're not even on campus on session or eligible to vote. And then we also want to improve on our concept of three-factor authentication. We had tried coming up with a scheme where the user has their access to their email account, they have access to their phone. So we send a password to their email, we send a one-time password in the form of a short numeric code to their phone. They log in and then we send another code for them to confirm their votes. So that quite didn't work because of the challenges we faced using the email and etc. So we want to pursue that further. Then the device-based authentication. We realized that if it were possible to deploy a mobile application, then it would be possible to limit the voting that happens on that phone to one. So that's another area we're thinking, how do we limit the number of votes cast per device to one to avoid possible vote assistance by an individual. Then the final and most important area for the study is the vote verification. We have identified that voters really want to be sure that their vote has not been tampered with. Candidates want to be sure that their votes have been counted for them as cast. While we as a commission and as technical people know how to do this from a database end, we can actually go in and verify from timestamps and things like that. Voters are more of end users and not all of them may understand SQL and timestamps and etc. In firewalls. They want to have a way of confirming for themselves. So that is one of the major areas of our study going forward. How can we give the end user or the voter, in this case, the ability to confirm that their vote has been stored and counted as cast? So in conclusion, we have established that the use of technology in elections is a challenge, yes, but it is not so much a technological challenge, but a people challenge. Technology works, but if people don't think it works, then it doesn't work for them. If they don't trust it, then they won't use it, they won't accept its outcome. So trust is a major issue when it comes to using technology in an elections process. And then the process that we've used at the university is one that has been of confidence and trust building. Technology is not enough. We've involved the students in the development. The students have developed it, they have tested it, so they know what it does. It's not being imposed on them. And then, of course, user involvement is what we've done. It's very important. It gives them confidence, it gives them a feeling and a sense of ownership. And that is one of the approaches we've done. And then the key outcome of this study, which is now our major thought and focus, is how can a voter and a candidate independently verify for themselves that their votes have been recorded and counted as cast. That is what now we're thinking. So the system has worked twice now, first of all in an offline mode, and then secondly in an online mode. And this is indeed an achievement because not many universities, in as much as we have a lot of work documented out there in terms of universities using online voting, electronic voting. Some have either concepts, some have been used one time, but a majority of universities, which is the context of my study, are not using this kind of systems at all. It should be possible in the future, once we have confidence at the university level, to then roll out this approach to other institutions that are conducting records, and if possible, do this for national elections. It is a process we have begun, and we think rather, it should be something that we can continue with in terms of developing and encouraging the adoption. So thank you very much for your kind attention, and looking forward to seeing you during the question and answer session. Thank you so much.